Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're not going to go on with our Army story. We will continue that. But of all the years I spent after the military, I bartended and I managed restaurants. These are some of the crazy regulars that I just thought about, came into my head. Let's get into this. So let me explain to you what a good bar regular is. Guy or girl, doesn't matter. Dude, they're patient, they're courteous, they're good tippers. You never mind when they show up. That's a good regular. A good, saying someone is a regular at the bar. They don't really make waves, don't have any issues with them. That's a good regular at the bar. I'm going to speak about two guys today. I'm pretty sure they're both around. Like they're not passed away or anything. I don't know how some of these guys are still alive, but let's get into this right now. Okay, so after the military, and I lived in Virginia, and I kind of learned how to bartend there while I was attending college, I transferred to Maryland, to where I continued to go to college, but I was working at a bar. I literally got this job at this dive bar. My dad and I were fishing at a reservoir not too far away from our house. We stopped in there to get a beer. There was a sign on the bathroom that said, hey, part-time bartender needed. My dad's like, Luke, that's right up your alley. Like, you could do that while you're in school. No problem. I literally filled out the application while drinking a Miller Lite bottle. Turned in the application to the bartender. She's like, well, the owner's here. Do you want to talk to him? I was like, well, I mean, I'm like drinking a beer right now. Like, I'm probably not appropriate. And she was like, no, it's cool. It's cool. It's whatever. Dude comes down the stairs. Bigger guy. His name's Bill. He's a good guy. Known this guy a long time. Looks over my application. He's like, all right, well, you're in the military? I was like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, okay. You got some bartending experience? Yeah, I do. About like 2 years, And he's like, all right, I need a Tuesday and Thursday bartender. Can that work for you? I said, yeah. I said, you don't mind that I'm having a beer or anything? He's like, no, just do me a favor. Don't get too drunk at work. That was pretty much the rules of how I got this job. So that's going to give you a little pretense on the clientele that came into this bar and the people that showed up on a regular to this bar. Alright, so there is no nice way to say this. This was a rowdy bar. Okay, just imagine the movie Roadhouse. Kind of similar to that. There were fights. There were people getting tossed out. There was a lot of open racism there. I don't join in on that. I'm not a part of that. But like, there was that. And like, you're going to hear words and language that you don't agree with, but you kind of just... If it gets too inappropriate, you can say something, but, I mean, for the most part, you just play it under the radar. Getting right into it. I had a guy. His name was Ron. Ron, I am being completely honest, Ron looked like a 75-year-old Hulk Hogan. Like, he looked like Hulk Hogan. Like, the real American Hulk Hogan. Big handlebar, like blonde mustache. Bald head with like hair going in the back. This was Ron. Okay? Ron was not built like Hulk Hogan, but you could see in his day, Ron was probably a very big dude. Like, Ron was still like 6'2", 6'3", like 270, but like you could see in his prime that this guy was a very big human being. I mean, age has kind of set him back a little bit. Well, here's the thing with Ron. Ron is the definition of hate. Ron hates everything. Ron hates the shitty weather. Ron hates the fact he didn't catch any fish today. Ron hates the fact that he's got to share the same water fountains with black people. Like, Ron is openly racist. He's an asshole. Ron does not drink, okay? This was one of the worst people ever that showed up, okay? Ron could not drink because Ron had drank most of his life. He would openly talk about his ex-wife and how much he hated her, and she left him like 25 years ago because of drinking. Not too many people liked Ron, except for some of the other pieces of shit that would come there every day. Ron was a fucking asshole. So Ron couldn't drink because he developed some health issues because of drinking. And with enough drinking, that's what comes with it. So Ron just was a vessel of just, I'm upset at life, I hate everything. I dealt with Ron pretty much on a daily basis. And when it comes to cheap, this guy was cheap. He would come in and nickel and dime me on everything. Hey, let me just get half a Coke. We don't really give half Cokes. Or I don't want to pay full price for a full Coke because I only asked for half a Coke. This was Ron. Okay? And if you've ever bartended or dealt with people like this, Ron was a fucking dickhead. Alright? And bartender ears, it's something we develop. You can hear when someone's talking shit and you think, like, oh, it's, they say it under their breath or something. We can hear that shit from down at the end of the bar, okay? Because you got to realize, if you're decent at bartending, you're not back there drinking. Or like maybe towards the end of the night when I'm cleaning up, I'd have a beer or something like that. But that's, if you're working, you're there to work. So I've heard Ron say shit under his breath. The only reason why Ron showed me any respect at all is because of my prior military experience. Ron had never served. Ron would like to talk about it like he did serve. But regardless, Ron was a gem. Ron was probably one of the worst people I had to wait on because I've had to ask Ron to leave many times because of how openly he used the N-word. And I was like, hey man, you need to chill out with that shit. Like, I don't see any people around here that would be offended by that. I was like, well, how do you know, man? Like, not everybody's a fan of that word. And the fact that you just use it openly in sentences. I mean, this man would start and end a sentence with the N-word. Like, how do you even do that? But like, anyways, I dealt with Ron a lot. Going through the course of a couple months, Ron started to change a little bit. So Ron's attire was usually sweatpants. He tried to show off whatever arms he had left by having like a cut off sleeve shirt with like one shitty Tasmanian devil tattoo like right here. I don't even know what makes people get those, but Ron went from looking like a slob to looking like somebody that was homeless. Like Ron would come in, he'd have like a cut on his face. Ron did not look good. This was the thing about Ron. Ron knew that he smelled like shit. Like, he stunk. He would douse himself in shitty old man cologne. Douse himself. Just covered in cologne. You would smell Ron coming in the bar 20 minutes before that guy even got there. Like old shitty man cologne. So somebody had made a comment to Ron one day because there were people at this bar that did not like Ron and did not fuck with Ron, and they were happy if they did not see Ron, and I was right on board with them. If Ron didn't show up, it was a good day. Ron only lived like a mile and a half away from the bar, so he was there all the time. Usually it was to get something to eat, but to bitch about the price, or try to send his food back, or eat half it and be like, this tastes like shit, or this was Ron, alright? So clearly Ron's appearance was changing, I'll tell you what. So as long as I have known Ron, Ron does not drink. Ron could not drink. A lot of the medication he was on would not allow him to drink. Well, this is why Ron's appearance started to change. Ron sits down one day, we could smell his shitty cologne come in, and he would not address me by my name. He'd say, hey, that's what it was. Don't call your bartenders. Try to know their name. Try to be respectful. Even throw out a sir or ma'am if you really want to go the extra mile. Whatever. Hey, what do you got on tap? I'd turn around right behind me. Everything you see behind me. Because I was not talking to Ron like a normal person. Ron didn't get respect because Ron didn't give respect. I'm a big fan of that. Let me get one of them Bud Lights. Okay. I said, yeah? Okay, Ron. Pour him a beer. Boom, down the hatch. Just blows it back. A couple of the guys there. Hey, Ron, have a tough day? Hey, Ron, have a tough day there? Okay, Ron. I ain't seen Ron drink a beer in 15 years, man. Shit, okay. Do that again. It's happy hour, right? Yeah, Ron, it's happy hour. You're getting that beer for $2.50 a pint, so, yep. And then this one he didn't pound back. He kind of sipped on this one. Ron decided to drink again. And his whole mentality of asshole and everything rekindled some kind of flame where this guy thought this dude was back in like his 20s, early 20s, teenage years, where he was a fighter. And Ron was very quick to shoot off at the mouth, even as an old man, but very quick to shoot off now his mouth, because he had the liquid courage of 2 Bud Light drafts in him. All right. Ron asked me to put on the news. If you care anything about your bar or whatever you do, keep sports on. Keep sports on. Do not put on Fox News. Do not put on CNN. Don't put these things on, because it's politics and the bar just don't mix. There's going to be someone that gets pissed off. There's going to be someone that gets upset about something. Just don't put it on. And I was like, actually, Ron, I'm not putting on Fox News right now. Sorry, we have there's this game on or something. It's like tennis or something. She's like, ain't nobody watching this shit, man. I was like, Ron, look, I had enough of it. I was like, we had this like TV over in the corner. I was like, if you want to watch it, man, I'll put it on over there. But like, I'm not putting it on at the main bar. We got rules about this shit here. Like, we already got enough crazy animosity and testosterone at this bar. We don't need any more of that. Dude's like, well, give me the remote. I'll put it on. I was like, Ron, that's not happening. Ron was an asshole, like I said. So I walk away from Ron, and now it's awkward because you have to deal with this fucking guy. And I've asked Ron to leave so many times before. I was like, Ron, come on, man, let's play nice today. The owner was okay with Ron because I guess the owner had known Ron when he was a kid. So, like, yeah, this guy's been coming to the bar now for probably 40 years. Like, so Ron's got a pretty good history of being at the bar. Ron's always been an asshole, though. So Ron is talking to these guys about what he knows is on TV, on the news right now. And there is this one guy. Love this guy to death. His name's Eric. Eric was very, very much reserved, but Eric fucking hated Ron. Like, he hated Ron. And Eric did nothing but construction. Eric was that guy that has been picking up cinder blocks for probably 15, 20 years. He's built like that. He did not fuck with Ron. Eric was on the tail end of a divorce. My heart goes out to him because that shit sucks. Eric was at the bar a lot. I got really close with Eric because, he told me how things were unfolding for him, how he never gets to see his kids anymore. I felt bad for this guy. I'd buy this guy a beer. I'd talk to this guy. Always good tipper, always good human being. Because he couldn't really be at the house with his wife anymore. He was at the bar a lot. So I talked to this guy a lot. Ron was shooting his mouth off about something. Out of nowhere, this guy Eric chimes in, "Hey, Ron." Ron kind of looks over. "Yeah? Why don't you tell everyone here what you used to do at the airport? Why don't you tell everybody that story you told me, what you used to do at the airport?" And a couple of the old timers that knew this story, they kind of like sat back in their chair. They were like, "Oh, Ron's got a story to tell. Okay, let's talk to Ron here." And Ron kind of looked at him like with really intense eyes and was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm all right." And he's like, "Nah, come on, Ron. Come on, you want to do all this talking and everything. Why don't you talk a little bit? Tell us a story of what you used to do at the airport, at Baltimore Washington Airport, BWI. Why don't you tell him? Why don't you tell him what you used to do there, Ron?" "Nah, I think you better just go back to your beer, son." Like, this guy was not having it, and he didn't want to fuck with Eric because Eric didn't care. Eric was not in a good spot. He would have beat the brakes off that old man. And Ron was still a big motherfucker, too. But Ron would fight. If he wanted to, Ron would throw hands. Or Ron would get into a wrestling match. I've seen Ron get into wrestling matches. So he said, "Okay, Ron, if you're not going to tell it, I'll tell it." That's where it gets good. So Eric says, "Okay, I'm going to let everybody know this story." And a couple of the old timers that were there, they knew this story. Like, they knew it. And they were kind of like smile a little bit. Because Ron had done this in his younger years. So Eric says, "So Mr. Ron here, he used to go down to BWI Airport, Baltimore Washington Airport, and he would dress like Hulk Hogan." A couple of guys were looking like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." And he'd sign autographs for people. He would sign autographs at the airport for people pretending to be Hulk Hogan. And Ron kind of like chuckled for a second. He's like, "Yeah, it was a long time ago." He's like, No, Ron. You pretended to be a celebrity, okay? That's what you did. You pretended to be a celebrity. Signing autographs for people getting off planes. And I'm Hulkamaniac and the Real American. I know Ron is embarrassed at this point. Couple guys are laughing. I definitely saw a guy slide over like a barred napkin. Was like, "Hey, why don't you give me an autograph over to my kid there?" Come on, Hawk. Funny as shit. I knew Ron was mad. And I don't think Ron had probably been called out in a long time by probably anybody. But this guy wasn't dealing with Ron. So I knew Ron was pissed. And Ron kind of motions me over. I'll take my tab. Eric's like, where are we going, Ron? Where are we going? Now, I knew this could have escalated. Because, like I said, Ron was a big old boy. Well, he's a man, but I mean, big older man. Ron, I think, had no qualms. Like, if it had to go toe-to-toe, these guys would have won at it. But being the guy he was, this guy called him out, embarrassed the shit out of him. Ron pays his tab, no tip, nothing. Kind of expected. Ron leaves. I don't see Ron again for a long time. I don't see Ron again for months. I think he had kind of like a realization maybe that carrying yourself like that mean old scoured shit, that only goes so far. Somebody will call you out and somebody will either put you in your place or they're going to take you to a place that you're not used to being. And I remember that really good. That was a regular that I never wanted to see. I didn't want anything to deal with. That's what I got for today. It's kind of a short video, but that's what I got to tell. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys.